Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? Little problem with my mixer board, but we're back, and you can see we've had some thunderstorms this morning. These are northwest flow thunderstorms that rolled through North Texas overnight, and not much rain with them really. They were kind of dry, but you can see them moving on out. And of course I got the webcam up, so I'm going to try to work this in where I can, but usually when we get up to 7 or 7:30, I'm trying to pull together like all the clips and footage that we're looking at. For example, noctilucent clouds. These are polar or mesospheric clouds, and normally we find these up at about 250 to 300,000 feet, and we're talking about that white band that you see way back there on the horizon. This photo was taken yesterday, exactly at the time we did the webcast yesterday. This was over Belgium, about 2 in the morning there, and you can see a little bit of sunlight illuminating those clouds. And there's the website for the contributor. I want to thank them for the permission to use that. And this, for the photo buffs, this was taken with a Canon 5D or 6D Samyang 24mm lens, f-stop 1.4, ISO 6400, 1/13 second exposure. So there you go. And unfortunately, we don't have an HD stream, so this is about as good as I can get it. Probably when we get more Patreon donations and all that, we should have enough to pull in a high-quality line and start doing HD on here. But for now, just head to that website, and you can check out more of those noctilucent clouds, and there's another shot of that. So this is looking north towards the midnight sun over the high latitudes there. Okay, let me see what we got for charts here. Let me get my... let me get things going here. There was a last-minute crunch because I was out there grilling just an hour ago, so I'm a little bit behind the curve. There's the patterns we have across Texas, and looks like we got a couple more northwest flow thunderstorms developing in West Texas right there. As far as the surface patterns, definite southerly flow coming in. You can see we've got onshore flow of the tropical moisture, so no problem with the Gulf being open. And also some thunderstorm clusters there over the Memphis area up to the Ozarks and southeast Kansas. Let's see, I'm going through my notes here. Yeah, we had that MCS go through Texas last night, and when it was back up in Oklahoma around 11 p.m., there was one shot here that I wanted to show you, and I wanted to thank Ryan for that. Let me bring that up here real quick. go. Okay, so hopefully you all can see that there. That's a Doppler image around the Alva, Oklahoma area. This is northwest Oklahoma, and you can see on the left the reflectivity. Looks like a tornado warning there, and there's a little vortex out ahead of the line, and you can see on the reflectivity there's a little bit of an outflow boundary there. And on the right side you can see the vortex there on the there's kind of a couplet there. And when you're looking at these images, you have to find the radar, and usually you can do that by looking at the radials. And in this case, it's very hard to see here, and I can't bring my cursor up on this to show you, but it looks vaguely like the radar is off to the left, and I don't know of any sites out there in the Oklahoma Panhandle. This could be Dodge City, I don't know. Let's see, red would be outbound, green would be inbound, so that makes sense. Yeah, this is from some radar site out to the west, and I don't have any information on where this came from, but anyway, some interesting weather there earlier last night. Okay, over to the charts. Let's check that out. We have a slight risk there for the Texas Caprock area and out towards Lubbock, and also a slight risk up there in the Fargo area up towards Winnipeg. And the 250 millibar pattern kind of reveals everything. And jet stream coming on shore around Seattle, and pretty much up in Canada, up around Ontario, coming into New York, and out towards Nova Scotia right there. So there's the jet stream pattern, and you can see we've got a little bit of long wave ridging across most of the central U.S. Long wave troughing off the coast. And within this flow, you can see what we could call medium waves moving through the flow right there. This is kind of flattening out the ridge a little bit. And looks like another trough right there over Oklahoma and Texas. There's a closer look at that trough, and you can see quite a disturbance there. And we'll check out the 500 millibar chart, and it also shows up there. So this is a little bit of a mesoscale convective vortex centered probably right there over Kansas. You can see we've got a little bit of enhanced upper level flow around that vortex. Also shows up at 700 millibars, and it has an influence on capping too. The capping is usually pulled out of the higher terrain of the Rockies and the southwest U.S., so you can see that the trajectory of that is towards the southeast, towards Texas. So we get a little bit of cooler air working around the north side. We end up with kind of a weaker cap there in Kansas and northern Oklahoma, and that helps get the storms going in that area. Most of the cap is directed towards South Texas, and you can see 13 right there at Del Rio and 12 at Midland. And then 850, this is where our moisture starts coming into play. Looks like a vortex pretty much over eastern Oklahoma this morning. And the moisture, I guess we have to look at a couple of other charts for that, but looks like the wind flow at least coming up over Shreveport right there. Looks like a little bit of a low level jet up I-35 in Texas on the 925. And then that brings us to the surface chart, potential temperature. And this is where we can get a look at where the fronts probably are. And this is always interesting because this shows the amount of heating we have in the higher terrain of the U.S. And you can see that if we dropped the terrain down to sea level, temperatures would be about 49 to 51, 52 Celsius, which is about 120 Fahrenheit. So lots of heating there, but Temperatures there are kind of moderate because of the higher elevation. Further north, looks like maybe a little bit of a front there in Montana, out to Oregon, and definitely we can see some sort of outflow boundary from Georgia out to Arkansas and up to Oklahoma. So these are some features we're going to look for there on the surface chart. And then the gradient we have out here, this is pretty normal, but we'll also check the charts on that right there. Okay, that brings us to the satellite, and let me set that up real quick. I think we will take a look at West Texas. And while that loads, let me take a look at my notes here. I had somebody ask in an email about chat in YouTube mobile. And if you all know anything about that, let me know. Because I used it a little bit, and I don't think I saw any chat in there. If you know anything, I can pass it on to that person. And let's see here. Oh yeah, weather.us. We were looking at that yesterday. A very good model site for European data. It's very hard to get that European data, so we can pretty much just pull that up right on here. And there should be a new feature on here tomorrow. I talked to George Couchman earlier today. You can see the CMWF right there. There's the dew point field. So some good stuff there. And he said that ensemble stuff will be added sometime in the next day or two. So you can look forward to that. Also, yesterday I missed the people who mentioned where their locations were. I want to add them to that viewer map, so if you want to be on that map, please mention that in chat where you're located, and I'll get that added. So I'm going to make a note to capture that this time around. Okay, back to the chart sequence, and let's see, let's take a look at the 100 through 500 millibar thickness. And normally we use that for fronts, and you can see most of the action up in Canada. There's the main gradient right there, and that supports the front that we were seeing there in Montana, right through there to Oregon. So looks good right there. And some sort of warm front maybe over the Dakotas, and that would support that slight risk that we have over the Fargo area. And we can see a little bit of troughing there in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, right through there. And that's helping to support the thunderstorm activity in that area. Okay, let me take a quick look at the chat here. Ryan there in Florida says, stormy earlier today, but cool. 82 degrees there, watching the fireworks. And you can see that Florida underneath that ridging. Bermuda high way out over the ocean, and we can see that kind of nosing in there into the southeast U.S. Very normal for this time of year. We've got Fun with Tech and Juggalo for Life. Eddie W. saying happy 4th, and Alexi, Burl H., Lloyd McCarter, that he says that MCS started out in Oklahoma, broke up all around this area here, North Little Rock by daylight. And yeah, that's about the time it rolled through here. And let's see, Kevin McKinney saying hello, and Sue M. says happy 4th. Ryan says looks good and sharp from here. David Holcomb checking in also. Brett Dean, fireworks and thunderstorms here in southern Jersey, 75 and storms. Ryan says that image that we saw there in Oklahoma was from radar scope. Okay, so I appreciate that image there. Sue M uses chat on iPad. So I guess the person I was talking to on email, they were not able to get that going for some reason. I'll have to I'll let them know that there's probably some way to get that working. Ryan uses chat on iPhone 7, iPad Pro, desktop HD Alienware. Mike Bexley checking in. David Holcomb wants to be on the map there in New Braunfels, just northeast of San Antonio there. And New Braunfels, that's just up the road from Selma, which is known for being a speed trap. Not that I got a ticket there or anything. The only ticket I've got in Texas was in Austin. That was about 11 years ago. And Ryan says no problems with mobile here in his area. Okay, check out the maps here. Well, we've kind of broke out of that dry pattern, so let's check out the soundings for Fort Worth and see what's going on. We would expect kind of a cold pool to be present there. Looks like we're missing moisture data, so all we've got is the temperature. Well, that's kind of a bummer there. We'll look at Norman. Okay, so we've got what looks like maybe a little bit of a subsidence inversion. Temperatures at 750 up to about 16 degrees Celsius there, so pretty warm. And we'll check out Amarillo real quick. This is this morning, and you can see a little bit of a radiational inversion right there. And very dry conditions. So when we get that mixing, the sun hits the ground, we're going to lose a lot of this moisture to the free atmosphere. So basically we're going to see this entire lower part of the column equalize, and by evening the sounding will be something like this right there. So that means that later during the day, dew point temperatures are going to be right around 8 to 9 Celsius, about 46 to 48 Fahrenheit. So definitely a bit of a dry line passage there. And let's check out what's going on right now. We'll generate a map here for the central U.S. and we'll load the data real quick. Okay, and we can see that Amarillo right now up to 60. So why would they be 60 when we've got clearly a pattern here that supports mixing of dry air down to the surface? Well, the reason for that is probably advection. So you can see we've got north or southeasterly flow helping to replace that dry air, and that dry line is all the way over in New Mexico like that. So we have to go way out to around Taos, Raton, Las Vegas, and Roswell to find the drier air. So very strong moist advection pattern up there on the Cap Rock, and that's helping to support that slight risk that we've got there over Lubbock. Now we also know that there is a boundary over Texas. We've had thunderstorms going during the morning hours. And for example, right here you can see this convective cluster right here kicking out an outflow boundary right there. So you see that right there. Very dramatic example. So the system that went through North Texas out in this area, there is going to be an outflow boundary somewhere in this area, and it could be that line of clouds that we see right there. So this is kind of where you have to play detective and sift through the chart and look at trends and try to find out where those boundaries are, because you may see redevelopment around them later during the day. At first glance on here, I don't really see any boundaries. But we did have that MCS tracking right through this area here last night. And I think there is probably maybe a weak one in this area. See the lower dew points out here, 60, 62, compared to 73 here. That's quite a difference there, so that may be a little bit of that moisture pooling in the Red River Valley up to the Palo Duro Canyon area. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at the polar orbiter, see what's going on. I know we've been looking at some sort of wave coming off the coast of Africa, and I'm not too sure where that is. At first glance, I really don't see it on here. I mean, that looks like a pretty good wave right there, but we are expecting development out in this area of the Atlantic, and let me show you that real quick. There's the tropical summary from NHC, and you can see 80% chance of cyclone formation in the next 5 days, but we're looking at the system moving into a stable area, so not much of a opportunity here for hurricane development. But this storm does appear on the models towards the end of the run, just off the coast of Florida. So that may have the potential to come on shore. There's a lot of uncertainty on the track at this point, so there's definitely the potential for that to come inland. So we'll just keep an eye on that and see what happens. Okay, I guess we'll just head into the forecast here, and we'll look at the mesoscale forecast with the high-resolution rapid refresh model. And you can see the models verify pretty well. There's the cluster there in the Big Spring area. There's the other one just west of Amarillo. So what we're expecting overnight is for the 1-year Amarillo to develop into an MCS and track southeastward. And then we see this cluster here develop along the Red River. Let me go back and we'll see where that came from. Yeah, you see right here. This looks to be some sort of shortwave maybe moving through the flow here. Destabilizing the air mass right there, and you can see lots of development around midnight. And that should track east-southeast towards the Texarkana area. But as I recall, the models did not do very well yesterday. They were forecasting dry conditions for the I-45 area and for Dallas. But we did end up getting quite a bit of rain here, so we will see just a very strong signal here for development there in southern Oklahoma for tonight, so we'll be watching that. Okay, then one very important chart for this time of year is precipitable water. So let's see what's going on. We've got 2-inch totals in parts of East Texas and Arkansas, and we'll roll that forward and see what happens. You can see that vortex right there over Missouri. There's those 2-inch totals wrapping around the Ozarks, Arkansas, into Memphis, and then going up the Ohio Valley. And then we see some drier air coming from the north over Missouri and Oklahoma there. This is around Thursday. So it looks like some sort of weak front or outflow boundary moving south. And then not a whole lot of change, kind of a redevelopment of 2-inch amounts along the Gulf Coast around Monday. And then those advect northward into the Atlanta and North Mississippi area around Wednesday, Thursday. And then you can see the hurricane, or I'm not going to call that a hurricane, probably a tropical depression or maybe a weak tropical storm. There it is coming into the Florida area. So this is quite a ways out. This is the 13th. and then you can see it recurves. But this far out, 250, 300 hours, we just do not know what's going to happen with that storm. We'll just have to watch that. Pretty good dry air coming in. This is kind of an outbreak of cold air from Canada hitting the east coast there around the 19th, and not much change there for Texas around the middle of the month. Okay, then we will close out, I guess, with the upper chart, the 200 millibar analysis. And you can see that we don't have a whole lot of ridging over Texas. Normally we are shut down. We've got ridging over Texas, kind of like what you see right there. See that anticyclonic flow right here. High pressure right there over southern Georgia. And that's normally what we see over Texas and Louisiana this time of year. But right now we're contending with that trough. So we're going to have chances for rain over the next few days in our area. And that trough slowly lifting out by the weekend. And then we see the appearance of some high pressure trying to build in, but looks like we have another little upper disturbance around the 9th or 10th, so it looks like maybe another shot of rain here coming up. That could be some feedback from convection right there. Yeah, look at that, some pretty good cyclonic curvature right there. So another vortex over East Texas, and I think we are looking at more rain for about a week to 2 weeks from now. Up in the Rockies, though, things look pretty dry. You can see ridging, high pressure right there over Colorado. So it should be very warm and dry in that part of the country. And then for the Northeast, the jet stream pattern is active. Looks to be cool with this northwest flow that's going to be bringing cold air masses down from the northwest. And sometimes this time of year we do get MCSs developing like around Minnesota, Wisconsin, and those track eastward. So we'll, kind of watch for that right there. But most of the time things are kind of dry with this northwest flow, and they are pretty cool. Then we get to the end of the sequence, high pressure over the Great Plains, and that will definitely shut things down for Kansas around mid-month. Okay, let me check the chat right here real quick. Selma held a world record from David Holcomb there. I always drive the speed limit. Talking there about the speed trap there. Juggalo says the data is wrong. Not sure what that referenced. That was a ways back. David Moore says, thanks for the help. I'll just figured out the chat on Android. Okay, good job. Ryan's there talking about the system out over the Atlantic. Thinks it'll push on off to the north and die quickly. Bermuda High will block it out. And then after August 5th, after that, he's going to start being concerned with hurricanes. Shred days will take some waves on the east coast. David says 70 mile an hour winds reported near Lubbock. Maybe I could bring up the radar real quick. Let me do that real quick. And let's see, we're going to look at the Lubbock radar. Got a severe thunderstorm warning out, so yeah, that should be interesting. So data is coming in. David Holcomb says, past 20 minutes, storm report says 0 miles visibility with dust. Trying to pull it up in GR level 2. If that's from METAR data, that's pretty significant. Let me take a look. To get the METAR data, you can just put in NOAA METAR. And usually the Aviation Weather Center is a good source for that. Okay, and I usually like to pull up the past 6 hours. Okay, let's see, 10 miles visibility. I guess that report was probably from elsewhere, but we haven't looked at METARs in a while, but you can see we've got southeast winds there, 130 degrees, 11 knots, few clouds at 7,000, scattered 26,000. We've got a temperature of 33. That's going to be about 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Dew point, 17. That's about 63. And then pressure data here, cumulonimbus distant northwest through north, moving southeast. So that tells you that there's an observer, a human observer there taking the observation. That's normal at the larger airports. And that can be kind of helpful. Sometimes you can look at the remarks here and see what they're looking at. Back in the old days, the 80s and 90s, these remarks were very helpful. So you can see that these storms there are very outflowish. Outflow boundary kicking out about 10 miles ahead of these storms. And there's the animation right there. They're moving to the southeast, and there's the other boundary from the storms further to the south. So a little bit of a collision right there. Two air masses coming together right there. But no thunderstorm right in that area, just not much going on there. And then we got these storms here. These are stationary. Okay, Juggalo for Life, seeing a lot of reports in the panhandle of Texas, and Littlefield has something on GR level 3. Not sure if it's the same storm. GR level 2 not loading for David. A little discussion there about GR level 2. And Juggalo for Life says check out the Littlefield storm. And I'm trying to remember where Littlefield is. There it is. Just northwest of Lubbock. So usually when we're talking about wind, we want to look at the ground relative velocity. So we've got to go to the base velocity and not the storm relative velocity. So there you go. What I do is I look for signatures kind of in this area right here. This is where the outflow boundary is hitting. Let me see if I can bring that legend up there. Okay, so these pixels here, you can see we've got about 35 knots inbound, 42 inbound, and 40. So that's indicative of some pretty good wind coming in behind that boundary. 21, 31. Yeah, lots of 20s and 30s and a few 40s there, so pretty good air, pretty good inbounds. And then here you got to keep in mind that the beam goes up with height, so we're getting higher and higher off the ground. This is about 2,000 feet off the ground, so this is not really representative of what's hitting the ground, but we've got 50 to 60 knot and even 70 knots. Yeah, there's 72, 73 right there. I'll put a dot right there. So some very high velocities. And down at the ground, that's probably going to translate to maybe 40 to 50 knots, maybe 60. But I can imagine some pretty good pictures coming out from these storms. Probably looks like a big haboob coming in there from the west. Okay. All right, I think that's probably about all I got for this evening. I was going to do a forecast block today, but I got kind of distracted by that barbecue. So I apologize for that, and let's take a quick look outside and look at the surveillance camera. Just got to drag the window up, and there we go. So that's the look outside. Not much to see, just kind of clear skies there. So I'm going to try to work in that forecast block tomorrow. What I intend to do is every calendar day I'm going to do something different. And kind of what I'm thinking is like Monday we would talk about observation stuff, Tuesday physics, Wednesday dynamics, Thursday would be like instability, Friday satellite and radar, and then Saturday haven't quite decided there yet. So if you have any ideas for material that you want to cover, let me know, and we'll do that. Okay, I think that's about all I got for tonight. Enjoy the fireworks. I guess that's going to be starting probably about in an hour in a lot of places. And take it easy, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.